And we are live. Well, hello there. Welcome to the video podcast of the Let's Talk Fishing podcast. My name is Jay Angel, and I'm going to be your host. And with me tonight, I have Kevin Baker from Bink Spoons. But first of all, I'd like to tell you that the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show is going to take place January 6th through 9th of 2022 at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center, and that's in Edison, New Jersey, guys. And I'm very proud to announce that the Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoor Show is going to take place January 13th through 16th of 2022 at the Lake County Fairgrounds. That's in Grays Lake, Illinois. Go on in there, walk into the Grant Rod's booth, and tell them Jay sent you. And speaking of the Northern Illinois Sports Show, I have another guy who's going to be there on with me tonight. And he's sitting right here. How you doing tonight, Kevin?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to have you on here. I've heard a lot about Bink Spoons over the years. I'm friends with Chase Rockstead, who he uses them.
Yeah, he does really well with them.
I think Chase Rockstead could catch fish on a cigarette butt. And I'm not taking anything away from Bink Spoons when I say that, man. It's just that he is that good, I've always seen pictures of him with just amazing size fish. So why don't you tell me, how did Bink Spoons get started?
Okay, well, Bink is a striper guy down in Lake Norfolk in Arkansas, and I met him back in the mid-'90s, and he had just developed these spoons for mostly for vertical jigging, but also for horizontal jigging, for stripers, crappie, white bass, and walleye down there on Lake Norfolk. And he's a striper guy, so he's fishing every day. He doesn't, not really well versed at being able to market his product, and so I sold online for him up until about 2014. And in 2014, he approached me about buying them out, and I did, and then that's when we took it nationwide. So that's kind of the history behind it. It's really taken off all over the country for saltwater and freshwater fishing.
Okay. So you took it nationwide, and now you actually sell this online. You sell this online at that website at binkspoons.com, correct?
That's correct, and it's also available in a lot of tackle shops.
And you have several different sizes, don't you?
We do. We actually have 7 sizes.
Wow.
Our basic sizes are 1/8 ounce through 1 ounce. So we have 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, half, 3/4, and 1. And then we also have a 2 ounce spoon that we made in 8 colors, and just as a test, and that's gone really well. So we're going to be coming out with all of our colors also in a 2 ounce spoon.
What are guys using a 2 ounce spoon for?
That's a good question. I've had guys tell me they're using them for white bass even.
White bass?
I think it's more for when there's more current. I personally have never used the 2 ounce spoons, but a lot of guys like them. Lake trout, even though our 1 ounce spoons will get down that deep, but a lot of guys prefer the 2 ounce spoons.
That's what I was thinking, like deep water jigging, Anchorage, Alaska. That'd be a good place to market that 2 ounce spoon, because you can get that down there 150 feet and jig for rockfish.
Yeah.
I've caught a lot of rockfish on things like that. And, you just let it flutter all the way down to the bottom. And if it makes it, a lot of times it doesn't.
Right.
Because something grabs on the way down.
Absolutely.
But then you just jig it and you let it flutter down. And I'm sure that's how guys are using this, aren't they?
Yes, they're used either for vertical jigging, where you're just going to go straight down and put the spoon where the fish are. If they're suspended, you take it down to, so you're working the spoon just above the fish. If they're on the bottom, you're going to take the spoon all the way down the bottom, and then just snap the spoon and let it fall. And when it falls, that's when they're going to hit it and hang on.
And what about horizontal jigging? You want to explain to the folks how that's done?
Yeah, horizontal jigging, you're casting the spoon out and usually letting it go to the bottom. And then you just snap it back to the boat, similar to what you would do just with a bucktail jig or any other plastic that you work along the bottom. You're just snapping it, letting it fall, and again, they hit it on the fall.
Okay. So you're just using that just like you would use a traditional jig, like when you, like, we pretty much all started out with jigs and minnows for walleyes.
Right. And
So so
you
you
know,
have seven different sizes. That's interesting.
yes. And believe it or not, I mean, we have guys that catch crappie on 1 ounce spoons, and we have guys that catch stripers on 1/8 ounce spoons. So, it's matching the hatch. Just you try to size your spoon to the size of the bait fish they're feeding on.
That's interesting. That's interesting that you said that. A 1 ounce spoon for a crappie. That's wow. That crappie must have not read the book on being a crappie.
Yeah,
Because I just go ahead.
but typically the 1/8 ounce to the 3/8 ounce are used for crappie
Sure.
and panfish and walleye earlier in the season. Um, walleye are typically, they typically feed on a smaller bait in the spring. And then
Sure.
as the summer goes on, you start using bigger baits. If you're using jig and minnow, you use a bigger minnow, and by fall you're using big minnows. Works the same way with the spoon. So a lot of guys are familiar with what they call slab fishing in the fall for walleye, but what a lot of them don't realize is that these spoons will work year round with them. You can catch
Okay.
them spring through fall. These spoons will work on walleye.
Do you have any folks that use these for smallmouth bass?
Oh yes, I just had a guy call me the other day. Said he was using our white mini shad up on Green Bay, and he caught over 125 smallmouth, all 4 to 5 pounds.
Wow.
Yes, especially when they're this time of the year they're out a little deeper.
Yes.
Especially when they're out deep, and when they're in shallow and 5 foot of water, it's probably better baits to use.
Sure, but they're not always in 5 feet of water, particularly not on the Great Lakes.
Right.
And also, if you're ledge fishing like out in Tennessee, my goodness,
Yes.
this is definitely getting me fired up.
And it's the same thing with largemouth bass. I was down at Shields in Overland Park a couple of years ago promoting my spoons, and bass guys wouldn't even talk to me. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. But the good bass guys know that certain time of the year there's not a better lure to use than a spoon for these bass.
I saw some of the most thrilling bass coverage I've ever seen was Chris Saldane on fishing the elites down on one of the lakes. I don't think it was Eufaula, but it was Gunther'sville. And he was using a big old spoon. It was not a big spoon, but it was a spoon. And he was hooking into a 4-pounder on almost every cast. And he only had minutes to fire up that motor and go full speed back in order to take his huge basket back to weigh in. But he just couldn't stop because every cast he was hooking into him. He couldn't always hold on to him. That's why it was so thrilling. I mean, he's like, okay, come on, I got one more cast. Then I have 4.5 minutes to get back. It was thrilling. But my point is, he was using a spoon when he was doing that.
Yeah.
He had just located a school of big fish. And he casted that out there. And, that looked like a shad fluttering down that had failed. And, anything that fails, a school of bass is going to get eaten.
That's right.
And that's what spoons look like. I mean, if you've ever seen footage of a shad, just it dies and it just flutters down like this.
Right.
Why don't you show us some of your spoons so we can see the different sizes and the different colors?
Okay. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Whoops. This is our albino. It's white with a purple back. All of our spoons come with VMC hooks.
Okay.
They have swivels on them, Roscoe swivels. All sizes come with the swivels, although we do recommend on the small spoons that if you're using light line that you remove the swivels and either move them up using a leader, put the swivel on to tie the leader, or just remove them altogether, because you'll have problems with the light line. You'll have problems with the line snagging. Or if you use braid, use the swivel to tie the braid to the leader.
And what size is that?
This one here is a 3/4 ounce.
3/4. Okay, so you would recommend that for stuff like walleyes and smallmouth bass?
Yeah, you know, you have guys that swear on different sizes. I got a guide in Lake Michigan. He won't use anything bigger than a 1/2 ounce for lake trout, and we catch lake trout with a 1/2 ounce spoon a lot. It's got more flutter to it. The 3/4, the heavier the spoon, the faster it's going to drop.
Sure.
So it's kind of a, again, matching the hatch. Seeing what they want. I've had guys tell me that they'll go out with a 1 ounce spoon and catch a lot of stripers. I'll go back to the exact same spot the next day, and the fish are still there, but I can't get them to hit. And they switch to a 3/4 ounce and they start hitting. So, I've got guys that ice fish with 1 ounce spoons up in North Dakota. And so it depends on the lake, depends on the preference of the fisherman. But I catch walleye on 1/8 ounce spoons, all the time. So.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it.
My personal preference for walleye is the 3/8 ounce and the 1/2 ounce. So the guys up on Green Bay are using 3/4 ounce and 1 ounce. Guys up in North Dakota are using those big ones. The guys that do slab fishing in the fall are always buying the big spoons, the 3/4 ounce and the 1 ounce.
Wow, for crappies, right?
No, for walleye.
Walleyes, okay.
For walleye, yeah. 3/4 ounce seems to be the prime size for largemouth bass for some reason. All the guys that use them for largemouth use 3/4 ounce.
Now, are they vertically jigging with that or horizontally?
Mostly vertical jigging, because they use them later on, like around now down in the southern lakes. The largemouth school up in deeper water.
If there is any, yeah.
Yeah.
But like in Tennessee, you have a lot of deep water. Where I live down in Louisiana, 10 feet is very deep. Most of our water is less than 3 feet.
Oh wow!
But it never gets very cold. So.
But you're familiar with Toledo Bend Reservoir?
Oh yes.
There, right?
Oh yes.
Right. Yeah. They use a lot of the guides down there use our spoons.
I'm sure they take that through the stump fields. Yeah.
Yeah, 3/4 ounce is what they use mostly. But for the walleye, I mean, we do really well with the 1/2 ounce and 3/8 ounce. But like I say, the guys further up north seem to like the bigger ones. And then in the summertime, actually even the 1/4 ounce. A lot of people don't realize it, but in a lot of these Midwestern lakes in the summer, these walleye will be in really shallow, like 4 to 8 feet of water.
Okay.
And they go up there in their horizontal jig with the 1/4 ounce spoons. And do really well.
Are they targeting rocky shorelines?
That I don't know.
Because like, are you familiar with Hideaki Lake?
I am. I love that lake.
I would be horizontally jigging your spoons if I were going to go there again, because I used to use a lot of them perch colored Rapala Shad Rap. Yeah. I would get something of yours that looks the most like the perch, and boy, I would horizontally jig those.
Yeah, this color here, Fire Tiger, works really well on Hideaki. I'm sorry,
No, that's okay. Yes. What size is that?
This one's a 1/2 ounce.
Okay.
And I gave a couple of these to a guy out there, a couple months ago. And I ran into him later on. He had several walleye in the boat that he caught with him.
I believe that. That's those walleyes feed heavily on perch, I guess, because that's what I caught most of my walleyes on. There was perch, the size 5 Rapalas, Shad Raps, just beating those shorelines with those.
Yep.
Well, there was another guide there that used to do a lot of trolling, but I caught a few fish there trolling. If the water was crashing over the shoreline, I would go to the nastiest shoreline I could find and troll it. Then if you hook into something, you have to pull yourself out into the lake to fight it. But well, when you got 3-foot waves crashing into the shore and you're only 10 feet away from the shore,
you're right.
I don't mess with that. But that's how I caught fish there. It's not an easy lake to catch fish on, but the ones I caught were big.
Yeah, we've never tried for walleye there. We go out there for the crappie.
Oh yeah,
Catch some big ones out there with quarter-ounce spoons. Quarter
my
ounce what? Go ahead.
my buddy Jim Copcho catches lots of big crappie there.
Yeah, Jim uses our spoons.
I bet he does. I bet he does.
Yeah.
I bet he does. So you're why don't you show us some other colors that you have?
Okay. This is a real popular walleye color also. Sorry. We call it clown. Some people call it Wonder Bread. And then this is the fire tiger we were just talking about.
Nice.
We have a lot of them are white with a colored back. So this one is white with a chartreuse back. We have a fluorescent green back. Also,
okay, hold that up a little. Yeah, okay.
Also, both colors for walleye. Good colors for walleye. We have this is the albino. Sorry.
No, you're doing great, man.
White with red throat is a real popular color. We do really well with walleye on this one in clear and stained lakes. Typically your whites are used for clear lakes.
Okay.
And then the colored ones, like this is our what we call bluegill. Can't really see it, but it's like a chartreuse with a black back, and a little bit of orange on the throat. Okay.
Sure.
This is our what we call our passion shad. It's a good walleye lure. That's actually purple on top. It looks blue.
Ooh, that's nice.
It's two different shades of purple and a chartreuse on the bottom.
That's nice.
And then we have one just all white. Let's try to get used to this camera.
Sure, I know. It takes a while to get used to the camera.
We call it white scale. And then and then we have just plain silver and plain gold also. Gold is real popular up on Green Bay now. Gold used to be our worst selling spoon, and now it's one of our top selling spoons. Now this is our white mini shad. We sell 6 times as many of these spoons as we do any other spoon.
Do you market these at all down here around the Louisiana coast?
I don't have any tackle shops down there, but we do sell online to several people in Louisiana.
I bet you do, because this looks like something that would really entice the redfish.
Yes, we have people catch redfish on them. We all kinds of saltwater fish also.
I'm sure also people catch speckled trout on those.
Oh yeah.
I mean, speckled trout, those, and also, since it'd be easy to work that on the ocean floor, I'm sure people catch flounder on them too.
Oh yeah, flounder. I've caught a stingray with one.
Ooh, that's nasty.
I caught a shark with one.
Wow.
I got a friend of mine was down catching. What are those things called? Those great big fish.
Tarpon.
Tarpon, yeah.
Okay.
He was fishing from a bridge and catching tarpon. Now he never landed any of them, obviously, but he hooked up to them and had a lot of fun with them.
That would be fun, catching tarpon. I've never caught one. I've only seen footage of it. I live in Louisiana and we don't have a huge population of them. But I catch a lot of redfish, and I have a lot of fun with redfish. But
this mini shad, like I said, is our most popular lure for any type of bass. Small. This is the guy I was telling you about that caught 125 smallmouth was using this spoon.
And what size was he using with that spoon?
He was using, I believe it was a 1 ounce. It was either a 1 ounce or 3/4 ounce.
Okay.
This is a 1/2 ounce here, and the mini shad just comes in those 3 sizes because once you get smaller than a 1/2 ounce, there's not enough room on the spoon body because you see it's got a double set of eyes and it looks like multiple shad. But for stripers, white bass, hybrids, smallmouth, it's a hot color, and it also comes in silver. We have a white mini shads also comes in silver.
But you're from Illinois?
I am.
Do you sell a lot of these to Illinois river fishermen?
That's just starting to. Again, on the Mississippi River, we're right on the Mississippi River here.
Okay.
some professional tournament fishermen started using them, so it's really taken off. And again, the gold is the best color in the Mississippi River too. So,
boy, I tell you, with the white bass fishermen on the Illinois, that's those spoons have endless possibilities.
yes.
And you can work them shallow or deep. You just have to reel fast and keep your rod up. But as soon as the white hits, and if they're in the area, they're going to hit that.
Yeah, they will.
And you definitely do have a lot of white bass fishermen there. Geez, that whole area up there in the Winnebago chain with the Wolf River, one of the biggest white bass runners in the world.
Huh.
They're all up and down the Wisconsin River.
Yep.
This is exciting.
And even for the pan fishermen that like bluegill and sunfish, they'll hit these 1 ounce spoons and even the 1/4 ounce spoons without tipping them with any bait.
Wow. So do you have one of your smaller spoons available?
I do. This is our 3/8 ounce. Okay, there we go.
Look at that. That's some pretty good detail for a smaller spoon,
Yeah, that's a 3/8 ounce. And then we got here's a 1/4 ounce. Oh, that's a silver. That's a 1/4 ounce there.
Okay.
Kind of looks gold in the picture, but and then here's our 1/8 ounce. Whoops, upside down. There's our 1/8 ounce spoon there.
Wow, that looks nice.
And
tip that with a little mousy or wow.
And then we also have ice fishing spoons too.
Okay.
We take our 1/8 ounce and our 1/4 ounce, and we add chain dropper hooks to them. See, it comes with a single bait holder chain dropper hook, and then also a spare treble hook, chain dropper hook, and a lot of guys use these for ice fishing, just our regular spoons, and they do work, especially for largemouth and crappie and walleye. But when the water's that cold, sometimes the fish are only looking for live bait. And the way I actually came up with this is I was out fishing with my granddaughter out in Colorado. We were ice fishing, and she was in the hole right next to me in the hut, and I had a spoon on it. She had a little jig with a piece of shrimp on it. And so on our Vexilars, we could see that the spoon was drawing in the fish, but then they would go over to her shrimp and hit hers.
Wow.
So I was drawing them all in. She was catching them all. So that's when we started adding these chain dropper hooks to it. So the spoon will bring them in from 50, 75 feet away. They'll see it, especially in the clear water.
Yes, like ice fishing conditions, yes.
Yeah, and they'll come in to check it out, and then they see that little mealworm or minnow head or whatever you got on there for bait, and then they'll go take the bait. And they work really well.
That's interesting. So you have a booth at the Northern Illinois Sports Show, don't you?
I do.
You're going to bring in your full complement of lures?
Yep, we'll have everything there, our ice spoons and our open water spoons. We also have one other ice spoon, which is just our normal spoon.
Oh, yeah.
Our normal spoon with a spinner on it. Let's see that little spinner blade on the tail.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they also use those for ice fishing.
And that's a 1/4 ounce?
1/4 ounce and 1/8 ounce come that way.
Okay. That's interesting. Boy, I like that. And you guys, come on over to the Northern Illinois Sports Show and come and talk to Kevin. He'll show you all his lures, and he'll make suggestions. I'm sure you're probably going to have some members of your pro staff there to talk to folks.
And we usually have pretty good buys there too.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to have some sports show specials?
Yep.
Nice. And that's going to take place for 4 days, guys, from January 13th through the 16th, 2022 at the Lake County Fairgrounds, and that's in Grays Lake, Illinois. So you're going to be traveling across the state of Illinois in January to go to the sports show.
Yep.
That's going to be fun. Living down here in Baton Rouge, I lived up there in Illinois for 45 years. And I never thought twice about driving in the middle of winter. I was always going ice fishing or hunting. But now that I live down here, I've actually grown a fear of snow now. I can't believe it. I moved from Illinois to Anchorage, Alaska. That's why I was telling you about, man, up there in Alaska, they also have trout that will bite trout would bite those spoons too,
Oh, absolutely, they will.
Particularly the big river trout where they get big, There's all kinds of, I'm seeing all kinds of opportunities here, Kevin. Yeah. All kinds of opportunities. In Shabbat Lake, I always wanted to, I never did it because I was always guiding and you don't want to really experiment when you're guiding. But I always wanted to take a spoon at the base of the dam face, because that was a 45-degree angle riprap that went all the way down to 25 feet. Mm-hmm. And just sit there and vertically jig a spoon on there because I knew that there were big bass, walleyes, catfish, even muskies down there. I could see them on my locator, and I could catch the bass up to about 4 pounds drop shotting. But I just knew if I had a big old spoon to flutter down there.
Oh, yeah. Muskie love these spoons. Muskie and Northerns, they absolutely love them.
I bet anything that's fluttering around like that, like we said, earlier, looks like a dying fish that's just floating down to the bottom for its last trip ever. And what an easy thing to just pick up if you're a predator,
Absolutely. And actually, I've had several stories like this where I'll give some to guys to try out, and they just kind of stick them in the back of their tackle box or something. And then they're out one day, and they can't get the fish to hit for nothing. And most of these stories come from crappie guides. And they got their client out there. They're not catching any fish. And out of desperation, they throw the Bink spoons on. They start catching fish. There was actually an article in a newspaper in Georgia that a guide out there wrote about that. And,
wow.
Lots of these guys I don't hear from until 2 years after I give them to them. Say, hey, remember those spoons you gave me? Where can I get more of those? Because a lot of people just don't realize how powerful spoons are, jigging spoons are. Bink has told me he's had several guys. You can't believe how many guys he's had on his boat that are in their 70s that have been fishing all their lives that have never fished with a jigging spoon. You're really missing out. I mean, it's not the catch-all lure. Obviously, there's times when other lures are better, but there's times when there's nothing better than a spoon.
This kind of stuff is coming around. The walleye fishermen on the Great Lakes used to think you could catch fish doing nothing but trolling. Now they have jigging rapalas they're using. They have a bunch of other stuff, including the lipless crankbaits.
Yeah.
And I can see Bink spoons working out there too. If you can locate a spool that's close to the bottom, why not horizontally jig?
Absolutely. Or usually on Lake Erie, you have a little bit of wind, and even Green Bay, most of them you have wind.
Always.
You can just drift with them.
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. It's just going to sit down there and just go like this.
Yeah, well, just drift. You're still gonna lift it and let it drop, but kind of like you would drift with a jigging minnow.
Sure.
Same thing. Well, we entered a jigging only walleye tournament on Lake Erie, and we had never fished that lake before. When we got out there to pre-fish it, the weather was too rough. We couldn't pre-fish it. We were up against 100 other boats, with a lot of them being charter boat captains.
Oh yeah.
And we tied for 16th place in that tournament using Bink spoons.
There you go. And imagine that you got blown off of Lake Erie.
Yeah.
It's happened almost as many times as I fished it.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. But so you guys did well in a jigging only tournament, so there was no trolling.
Correct.
So you don't got guys out there with 16 rods out. Yeah.
Right.
Wow, I like that. Let's level the playing field a little bit. That's good. And everybody else is using, jigs with soft plastics or jigs and minnows, which they've seen a million times.
Right.
And if you throw something just a little bit different like you have, I could see you doing really well.
Yeah, I mean, we were happy taking 16th place since we were up against charter boat captains and we never fished the lake before.
Yeah, you're up against guys who fish that lake every single day and they depend on it for their living.
Right.
Jeez.
Yep.
It's almost not fair, but then again, it is because they have their preconceived notions about where the fish are.
Right.
And what they're going to bite on. So I'm truly torn about that whole thing. But hey, Kevin, do you have any shout outs you'd like to make? Any thank yous to people or companies who have helped you?
Oh, yes. There's been so many of them, and I'm sure I'm not going to remember them all, but there's
Sure.
Don Locke up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. There's Dan Brown, striper guide down in Tennessee. There's Brian Andraka, a hybrid and walleye guide in Kansas. There's Craig Berlick. He's just a big time fisherman out of Kansas City that is just, he's really done a lot for us. And there's Josh Loeb up in North Dakota. He's the one that ice fishes with 1 ounce spoons. He's done a lot to help us out, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of them, but
sure, that's okay.
But there's a lot of them.
And I'd like to give a big shout out to Jim Grant. He's the guy who told me about you and told me you were going to be at the Northern Illinois Sports Show. So I definitely wanted to get a hold of you. And this is an interesting podcast, and you gave a lot of information out in. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed being here.
Yes, you did a good job. You really taught us a lot about Binks spoons, and something I didn't know a whole lot about. I really didn't know a whole lot about them. But anyways, in closing, I'd like to tell everybody that the Garden State Outdoor Sports Show is going to take place from January 6th to 9th of 2022, and that's going to be at the New Jersey Convention and Exposition Center in Edison, New Jersey, guys. And the Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoor Show is going to take place January 13th to the 16th of 2022, and that's going to be at the Lake County Fairgrounds. That's in Grays Lake, Illinois. And come on over to the Northern Illinois Sports and Outdoor Show and talk to Kevin Baker. And also go on into the Grant Rod's booth. There's going to be a lot of good people there, guys. You're going to have a lot of time. Make sure that you block off about 2 days for this, because there's going to be so many good guys there. You're going to have a great time talking to them all. And it's going to take about 2 days to talk to all of them. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for listening, or for actually tuning into the Let's Talk Fishing video podcast. Again, my name is Jay Angel with a very special guest, Kevin Baker of Bink Spoons. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.